Now, welcome on a very special guest, the third host of Knee Brace Radio. It's been a little while. It's been a minute, though. Eric RDT. Eric, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. Not much. Just watching baseball, keeping an eye on all these trades, not trades, hug watches, everything like that going on. So
I would like to say, first time I've pronounced your last name correctly since you came on the show. Next time I'll probably be wrong.
It's not an easy one, but you got it down.
I got it down. It only took, 7 times the charm at this point?
That's all right.
But like you said, trade watches, hug watches. You tweeted earlier, Trey Turner, hug watch.
Then it turned out he tested positive for COVID. So that's why he came out of the game.
You never
definite hug watch there.
Yeah. It's the opposite. Yeah, it's the bad hug watch, though. You don't want to see him hug anyone there.
Yeah, that's an air hug. So we're at the second half of the season. Let's go rewind a little bit back to the first half. What were the biggest shocks of the first half of the MLB season, in your opinion?
I think it has to be the Giants being in first place out in that division. Everyone thought that we were going to have this season long, just King Kong versus Godzilla, Dodgers versus Padres. And we got that early on in the season. When they were playing those series, early in the season, it was awesome. They were late night games, obviously on the West Coast, just slobber knockers. And then the Giants were just out there winning every ball game. And I think I'm looking at it right now. They have the most wins in baseball. They're tied with the Red Sox right now, actually, most wins in baseball, but they're 62-37. They're 2 games up on the Dodgers. They have to be my surprise. I thought they were a rebuilding team. I thought they were, they're they don't have anyone who scares you. Buster Posey is playing like he's 25. Kevin Gossman's pitching with the guy we thought here in Baltimore.
Evan Longoria
was
hitting
great
280.
He got hurt. Yeah, he was really good. Again, I don't know what's in the water out there, but they're just and whoever they're putting in, it works. So it's cool to see them kind of, because again, everyone's paying attention to Dodgers, Padres, and they're kind of just like, all right, well, y'all keep jerking them off. We're gonna go win some ball games, and that's what they've done. And again, it's still a close race out there between those 3 teams, and I think you're going to get 2 wild card teams from that division. It's going to be a fun race to watch down the stretch. Can the Dodgers, do the Dodgers make a move at the trade deadline, or the Padres going to make another move, or they going to add some pitching pieces, and can the Giants keep up this stretch? Because again, we're over 100 games played, we're getting down to it, and they're still holding on.
So I saw something about Eric Hosmer's no trade clause. The 10 teams he can't go to. Was that you that tweeted that?
Yeah. I think I tweeted because Baltimore was on the list, and it said something like, "Well, we don't want you anyways," or something like that. But
I wouldn't really even think you'd be a piece that you really want to necessarily move. But I don't know. Would you think he could get moved?
I think they're not too thrilled with him offensively, and defensively he's good, but he's not. Can't really keep him in the lineup just because he's a decent defender. They're paying him a ton of money. That contract is massive.
Especially at first base.
Exactly.
First base, you can have pretty much a dummy there.
You can get away with a lot at first base, especially with a guy like with Manny thrown to you. He'll get the ball over there regardless. But they traded for Frazier, and they were saying they could put him at first. They could put Cronenworth at first. So they have a lot of options, and if they can move that salary, why not? Again, he's not offensively, he isn't really what he ever was in Kansas City, and he was never really a big power threat. They've got the offense there. It's there. I think if they could move him, they would love to do that. Not saying that they want to we got to get him off the team, but I think they're hey, if we could take him and another prospect and kick them in somewhere, and I don't even know if they could move him for a pitcher, if they could send him to Washington
for
Scherzer or something like that, absolutely. I think they would love to do that.
Yeah, and you made a good point with Frazier. It's almost like when the Cardinals put Matt Carpenter over at first base.
Yep.
And it's we're really gonna. He's going to be a fine defender. He's not going to be a natural over there, but you're just worried about keeping his bat in the lineup.
Yep, and it's the same thing with Trevor Story, where teams are hey, have you ever played center field? Not since high school, and they're doesn't matter, come on over. Who did they say? The Brewers or the Dodgers were asking the Twins if Nelson Cruz had ever played second base. Mm-hmm. Teams, they'll make it work, especially in the playoffs. Things get weird. you do whatever you can to get offense in the lineup, and if you can do it, I mean, I'm just like giggling to myself thinking about Nelson Cruz turning a double play at second base at 44 years old or whatever he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, pile that on top of the era that we're in, where it's strikeout, home run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, we can get away with anything because you don't have to play defense anymore.
Bring it on. Doesn't matter. Like, keep it going. Like, yeah, just get that bat in the lineup.
Will say, fun fact, I played against Trevor Story in high school, and he didn't even start on his team.
Really?
Yes, the coach's son started. Him and Josh Bell were on the same team.
The Nats, Josh Bell.
Yes.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
So I recorded a 4-3 put out on him at second base, and he almost beat it was a routine ground ball, 2 steps to my left at second into the outfield. He almost beat it out. That's when he was still playing center field.
Yeah, I believe that.
Fact.
Like I think Trevor Story could play any position he wanted to. Like, he's that athletic.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me at all if because again, a team contending too. Like, if the Yankees traded for him, like, yeah, he could probably play center field out there. It doesn't matter. Like, he's played baseball before. I'm sure. Again, he's a decent athlete. So,
Would you say that the Yankees or the Red Sox, either of those teams, be a surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of them. I think the Red Sox are much better than I think we thought they would be. And I think the Yankees are that much worse than we thought they'd be. Like, I'm looking at the standings now. I mean, the Yankees only been 4 games over, 51. And it's funny because the Yankees have 51 wins, and people want, everyone's head on a pedestal or everyone's head on their mantle, and they're like done with them. And the Mets have 53 wins, and they're in first place. Mm-hmm. And I get the divisions, and that's how that.
The Mets are just a phenomenal team, Eric. Let's not get into it.
Well, yeah, and we won't really compare the divisions, but the Yankees came into the season again probably one of the betting favorites behind Houston.
They still are.
Which is crazy to me. Like, I watched this team a decent amount. I think they are lifeless. I don't think they have anything. Like, there's no spark there.
You have when you're building a team, right? What are the most important positions that you can have? It's up the middle: catcher, shortstop, center fielder. Their catcher is arguably the worst defensive catcher maybe in the history of baseball. That's probably dramatic, but he might be the worst defensive catcher in baseball right now, which is fair to say. Their infield is not great.
Nope. LeMahieu hasn't been doing it. Like, he's not hitting like he was. Glaber, isn't on his tear like he was against the Orioles a couple years ago. And yeah, I mean,
his fielding isn't great either.
No, yeah, he's turned into a bad fielder. And I mean, again, you look at, and like, I don't go just by run differential. They're +5 run differential. They scored the exact same amount of runs as the Orioles. Mm-hmm. Like, that's, and again, it's, the Orioles don't have a terrible offense, but like, that's the Yankees in that ballpark should not have 408 runs scored. Yep. Like, they should be pounding. And again, I guess you can count to Judge being out for the last 2 weeks, week and a half. He came back tonight from COVID. But I mean, they just don't have it this year. And you can tell, and it's like there's just a stink that's going around them. And it's the opposite up in Boston. I think they asked one of the Yankees after the Boston series, something about what are they doing over there that's working? And he's like, they're having fun, they're laughing. Like, that's it. Like, they're a good team and they're having fun, and that's terrifying because, again, like, there's nothing worse. Like, that's the worst sign when you see a team just laughing and having fun and they're still kicking your shit in. Like, damn, like, they're unbeatable. And yeah, I mean, the Red Sox, they're a game and a half up on the Rays. But I mean, their pitching rotation at the beginning of the year, I was like, the Orioles rotation is better than this rotation. The Red Sox stink, and the Orioles swept them to start out. But we've seen what they've done since. It's just that, I don't know. They do it. It seems like they do it every 3 or 4 years, where they just pull these teams out of their asses, and they get guys to, just be awesome all year.
Do you think the Red Sox bolt of energy could be from the announcement of the podcast, Call him Poppy? The people are asking. It's a little plug for Barstool right there, because they probably need it from Nebrace Radio, right?
It could be. I mean, it's that dirty water up there. It's getting passed around, and I know Jared's been working on that. He told us about that beginning of maybe like the middle of April. So like, they've been sitting on that, and they've been recording that for a while. And like, again, like, they're getting Tom Brady. They've already interviewed Gronk. They did Tatis last week. Like, Jared was sending us pictures from inside David Ortiz's house, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, and again, that's why I'm like, nothing can go wrong for Boston right now. Like, they're getting this podcast and they don't even know it.
Right. So you bring up run differential, which is one of my favorite stats because of how telling that can be. Outside of win loss or what have you, I feel like that's the easiest tell of a good team. Like when you look at a team like the Blue Jays that have a plus 85 run differential, they're 10 and a half games back. I mean, that tells me right away that they have bullpen issues because they're losing close games. And I think about it, and I can't tell you a single person on the Blue Jays bullpen staff. And similarly, you have teams like the Dodgers or the Giants, like we talked about earlier. The Giants have 120 run differential, whereas a team like the Yankees or a team like the Red Sox, the Yankees have +5, like you said, or the Red Sox have +69. Nice run differential. Like, how much do you play into the run differential as a leading stat?
I mean, I do. Like, I like to look at it because, again, I think it tells something. And I'm not quite sure what it tells, but I think most of the time it tells something. Like, I'm scrolling down right now. Miami is +1. They're 43 and 57. They're a +1 run differential. You go up, the Nats are 45 and 54, and they're -27. And yeah, you're like, you know what? They got a bad offense right now. Their pitching stinks. And again, like the Blue Jays is the perfect one. We talked about them. They talked about them on the podcast the other day, and I was blogging about it, where like that offense is humming right now. And like you said, like their pitching is pretty good, but they're still finding ways to they need to do something because they're still finding ways to lose these close games. Because again, you look at that run differential, it's +85. Like it's crazy. And I mean, you got the Rays at +92, and they're a game and a half back, like I said. And I mean, +92 is crazy. And then, like, you look at, you got the White Sox at +115. No one else in that division is above. -31 is the next highest one in that division, which kind of makes sense because that whole division stinks. Houston's at +141, which is crazy. They're just that good, and I feel like no one's really paying attention to them, and it's scary. And then again, I mean, you look at, Arizona -150. What are the Orioles? The Orioles are -130. Like, bad teams, again, tend to get the shit kicked out of them a decent amount. They'll have a 10-0 loss, stuff like that. And when they win, it's by 1 or 2. And like my favorite run differential thing was back at the 2012 Orioles. They were a +7 run differential and they made the wild card team because there were people all year being like, oh, they're not for real just because look at the run differential. And it's like sometimes it tells a story and sometimes it doesn't. It's weird, but I like using that as kind of not a frame, but like I just like to have it in the back of my mind when I'm looking at a team.
Could you say the run differential and maybe whip, like bullpen whip, those are the key pieces of the clutch gene?
Yeah, I mean, because again, if
together,
if guys are getting on against your bullpen, it's going to explode at some point. Like you can get away with a hit by pitch, a walk, from
what
your
about
bullpen
4 in a
guys.
game? 4
Yeah.
in an
And it's like, again, you can kind of bottle them up and you can have some of them, but like if your whip is getting up there and you keep getting guys on, it's going to explode and you're going to lose baseball games. So yeah, if your bullpen is letting guys on, it's not going to be a good time. Like I remember with Jim Johnson and the Orioles, you could tell by his very first pitch. Like if it was a ball outside, like you're like, he's going to walk 3 guys. He's giving up 2 base hits and this game is done. So yeah, the bullpen whip is a good one. I never really thought of it like that, but the bullpen whip is another good way to like, I guess just a bigger overlook on it.
Mm-hmm. It's that 1,000-foot view, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we were talking about, the hug watch. Who is going to be moved at the trade deadline? Who do you think? Chris Bryant, I would say 100% moved, right? Rizzo, I would put maybe at like 80%. I think he's going to be gone too. Baez, I don't know. The Cubs are interesting. Nationals are interesting because, like you said, Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, those guys could be moved. Who do you think is going to be moved?
Like you said, I think the Cubs guys, I think Bryant for sure. Rizzo and Baez are weird because they floated it out there and then they were like, well, we also may try and sign them. And it's like, well, okay. Like, again, that's not a full rebuild then. It's kind of, you're putting yourself in a weird spot. Like
you're just putting yourself in limbo, which is what the Mets used to do.
Yeah, and it's like you traded your best pitcher last year, Yu Darvish. Like you kind of started the rebuild there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's I don't know that's weird to me, but yeah, I think Brian is gone for sure. It's just which it's kind of weird right now because again, we're 3 days away and there's nothing really.
There's no reporting.
The Rays are kicking around on them. The Mets have been interested, but that's it. Like that's it.
Well, if I'm the Mets, if I'm Steve Cohen, I don't think signing Chris Bryant is the right move. I would sign Javi Baez, stick him at shortstop till Lindor gets back, and then you can move Baez to short or second.
Move him wherever you want.
Where you could put whoever, Jeff McNeil, if he's playing second, move him to third, and then you have JD Davis is going to be the odd guy out, or Villar is going to be the odd guy out. But doesn't it make more sense for you to plug the hole? And unless they think they can sign Bryant to a long-term deal.
And that's the big thing. It's like if you're gonna, because you're gonna give up big pieces for Bryant, for a guy like Bryant. And yeah, I mean it's if you can get that extension, kind of like because I don't think you can sign an extension right now, but if you can get that handshake agreement, like hey, after the season, blah blah blah, like
what's what they did with Yoenis Cespedes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They had him for another year, and then they signed him to a 3-year deal after that.
Yeah, and it's like if they could do that, I mean that's a no-brainer. But
if not, just get the guy that's a natural shortstop and plug the hole.
Plug the hole now, as opposed to like kind of fill in some of the cracks, and because again, you still got that hole in at shortstop. Isn't it funny too that like remember obviously when Bryant was coming up, the whole keeping him down to
get the extra year.
This is that extra year, and it's like so you just kept him down 18 days to trade him halfway through the year.
Do you remember how pissed he was after spring training?
Yeah, people were not, and again, because that was kind of the whole. That was like the first big one that people really remember was like the manipulation of the service time. Because again, like it wasn't really talked about before that. But it's just funny that they saved those 15 days in May or whatever to now trade him halfway through the season. I just thought like,
somebody else is getting him for an extra year.
Pretty much. And then like you said, Baez. I think Baez would be a perfect piece up there in New York. I think the Nats are going to be. Although now, I mean, with Turner, I don't know what you do with Turner. Like, I don't know if you can trade him. Like,
you should be able
COVID
to.
List. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, you should
because he's not going to fail a physical. Well, in theory, he wouldn't fail it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Seeing the gears turning in Kyle's head right there as he walked through that, it was amazing.
Because like, can't you not play guys on the IL? Like.
I think it's the same sort of NFL thing where it's like a COVID exempt list.
Yeah, because I know it's like the COVID IL list it's different or whatever. But I think Scherzer's obviously gone, and it sounds like
crazy.
He wants to go west, and I think it's the right move. Like, again, as a free agent after this year, I mean that's arguably the best free agent signing in sports in the last 10 years. Like it's one of the very few big year, big money deals that's ever worked out for both the player and the team. Like it's been like I don't think you could ask for anything else from either the player or the team. Like Scherzer, what do you throw 3 no-hitters and what he win 2 or 3 Cy Youngs and
a World Series. Yeah,
I mean shit, give me that. Like I'll sign up for that any day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's all you can ask for from that big time free agent signing. You know,
exactly.
you compare that to like a contract that you gave to Giancarlo Stanton. You know, who he's missed like over 100 games in the past like 3 seasons or something like that.
And hell, even compare him to the guy on the mound next to him. You know, Strasburg. Now he's out for the season again, and it's like these and he wasn't the big money deal like Scherzer was, but he got that extension after the World Series. And I think they said he's thrown 26 innings since. And it's like, again, Scherzer never hurt. The only time he's hurt is when he bunts it back into his face and shatters every bone in his face, and he pitches the next day and he strikes out 10. He's gonna. I think he goes to the Dodgers. I think because they got a hold of Phil out there with Trevor Bauer, because that dude is not coming back.
You don't say?
No, yeah, I think he is. I think we've seen the last of Trevor Bauer. I think. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be awesome to watch in the playoff. And he's even said like he's open to coming back next season. Like he could do a Chapman where he gets traded and comes back and finishes his career in DC again. That'll be interesting. And I don't really know who else the Nets. Josh Harrison, they were saying they may move, which again he could be a nice utility piece. It's
like it's Rubel Cabrera almost, like one of those types of guys that comes in. It's like. He's not
off the bench if you
exactly. He can pinch it and get you a big knock in a situation, but he's not a stud per se.
No, yeah, like he's not going to win you a game, but again, he'll if you're cleanup hitter, if you get a guy that walks in the top of the 9th or whatever, and you need to steal a bag, like all right, put him in there, get him over or something like that. But Trying to think, I'm watching the Orioles game right now. Starling Marte on the Marlins, like he's been rumored to go play. He's a nice bat. I'm going to be interested to see what happens because nothing's really happened. I guess who knows what the Rockies are going to do a story because their GM a couple of days ago came out and was like, "We're not a farm system for the rest of the MLB," which is kind of like, sure you are.
Like, yeah, but like, let's be honest.
Paid the Cardinals to take the best third baseman in baseball from you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I'm really anticipating things picking up, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and then the deadline on Friday is going to be awesome. I think you're going to have a lot of big name players moving.
Yeah, we talked about the Cubs core and the Cubs. I mean, I know it's been talked about at length, but that Cubs core has been so weird because it felt like when they won in 2016, everyone was like, "Oh, watch out next year." Next year's when they were supposed to all come
in a row. Here they come. Like
right, and you blink, and it's been 5 years since that World Series in 2016, and they haven't really done much since. And now it's done, and they're rebuilding again, which it feels like that core of the Chicago Cubs just it rose and fell so fast.
I think I was on here with you guys last year, and I said like I've never seen a team get older quicker than
than
the
absolutely.
Cubs. Like they're that hard, like you said, that core. I feel like they got super old super quick, and I'm not talking about like because Chris Bryant's what 27, maybe 28 or
I
something
think he's like
that.
32.
Is
Chris
he?
Bryant? No,
Yeah,
he's
Bryant?
28 or 29. 27, 28, 29, somewhere around there.
Chris Bryant is. Why can't I find his birthday? He's 29.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
so like
Rizzo's like 32 then. Right?
yeah, I think
Rizzo's 32, but you also you're paying Jason Hayward like $20+ million a year to hit 200.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he throws the ball really hard.
He does. That's a fact. But like when you have guys like that, when you make bad financial decisions and you can't sign other players,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
You have to move away from some of those guys.
No one is going to. Yeah.
I was going to say they've made trades where they've moved prospects and stuff. I mean, Eloy, they sent Eloy to the Cubs or, to the White Sox for Quintana and stuff like that. So it's like, these are guys that should be there, but it's a problem with mortgaging the future. I mean, I get it that you got to risk it to get the biscuit, but you can't trade all your young guys and you can't. And that this is kind of going back to the Nats. I mean, you look at the Nats, they have zero. Their farm system is god awful. Traded Giolito for Adam Eaton and stuff like that. And I get it. Adam Eaton was a main guy on a team that won a World Series, but it's like, man,
didn't Adam Eaton get released?
Yeah. Now he's on the Angels. He's on the Angels now, but, I mean, these teams, and that's why, like, the Orioles, used to do it, just unload farm Eduardo Rodriguez for Andrew Miller, which I still think you do in 2014. But it's like, man, it'd be nice to have Eduardo Rodriguez in the rotation right now. But yeah, the team like the Cubs. I mean, they got super old, super quick, and I don't think their farm system is that. I think it's kind of like middle of the road, and that's the worst place to be. It's like you'd almost rather be shitty. And
get draft picks.
Exactly, and get some of these guys who you can just funnel through your system right away. But it's tough because, again, like you got to make those trades to get the Quintanas and guys like that to try and put you over the top. But again, you trade away Eloy Jimenez and Gleyber Torres, who obviously he's not killing it now, but like, damn, he would have been a nice piece to have a couple years ago.
Yeah. So obviously, like we said, the trade deadline is going to be crazy. So we're going to make you pick the World Series winner before the trade deadline has expired. So go ahead, pick your winner, and then you can redact it, and we'll see if you're right.
I think we have a Red Sox Padres World Series.
Wow.
Because I mean, it's kind of better. It's like a trade. Red Sox are going to get Chris Sale back, and he's going to be very good. And, like, obviously he's not going to be the Chris Sale where he's going to come out and throw 8 innings and strike out 14. But I'll tell you what, he could be a guy who, in the playoffs, the Madison Bumgarner, where, hey, they bring him in the 6th, and, he goes 2 innings, he goes 3 innings, something like that. And, like, that's going to be terrifying. Like, that's going to be, again, that's almost just like he's basically a free agent signing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when they picked up Chapman or Andrew Miller.
Yep.
It's like that lefty from a weird arm angle who throws hard, and it's like, fuck, he can go 3 innings easily.
Yep, exactly. And again, it's like they don't, their bullpen's not the best, but I mean, it's pretty good. And I mean, I've even seen that they're trying to kick the tires on Craig Kimbrell again. Like they may do that. And again, if they get a guy like Kimbrell,
Run it back.
Yeah, exactly. Run it back. I mean, they're I think the Red Sox are very good. I'm expecting it to be like a Red Sox Houston ALCS, which I think will be awesome. Because I think Houston is unbelievable. I think they're really good this year. And again, no one's talking about them. And anytime anyone talks about them, they're like, "Oh, they cheated." It's like, yeah, you know who else cheated? You're probably your favorite team. Like, shut up. Get over it.
Literally everybody else.
Get over it. Like, we got to stop with this. Like, they're a damn good team. Like, Altuve's a really good player. And again, this is kind of like their, one last dance too, because Correa is a free agent. And
they already lost Springer.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's coming back. And Verlander is obviously he's a year older and he's not even pitching this year. Who knows? Greinke and some of their other guys, but I think they're very good. But yeah, I think we get a Red Sox. I think Red Sox champion. And I think they beat the Padres. I think the Padres do something. They're not. I don't think they'll get Scherzer, but I think they'll get who's the number 2 guy pitcher. I think they'll add pitching, and I think they'll be pretty dangerous and be in the World Series against the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think. Well, I was gonna say I think Houston is just they're so fucking good. Like I think that out of the AL. Personally, that I think they make the World Series. NL, like you said, the NL West is so tough because you said you're going to have 2 wild card teams, and then NL Central is kind of weak. I mean, Knicks Reds are in second place right now.
Reds are playing. They're playing well. Like they're exciting. I called them like the most boring team in baseball.
And there's a drive out to left field, Nick Castellanos.
Yeah. and I got just eaten alive when I called them the most boring team in baseball. I forget. Oh, I think it was Wade Miley. I was like, this is the most boring no-hitter I've ever seen in my life, which I'm like, it's not, I don't think it's that too far off.
No, there was like 19 people watching the broadcast.
Yeah. But no, I mean, they're 7 back in Milwaukee, but I think they're a good
But I'm saying like the East is weak relatively. Everyone thought the NL East was going to be super strong this year. I think we talked about it preseason. Central, besides for the Brewers, is weak. So I think it's got to be like iron sharpens iron almost out of the West.
Yeah. I think whoever that 3-headed monster, I think whoever comes out of that division, I don't know. Cause again, I mean, I could say the Dodgers win the division and then you get the Giants and Giants and Padres playing in that, like the wild card game or something like that. Like it's going to be, I mean, that's going to be insane. Like I think that division, one of the guys in that division is going to win it all. And I think they're going to win the NL, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. Now let's go MVP for AL NL.
Hold on. I think AL, let's all just say 1, 2, 3, Shohei Ohtani. Yeah.
Has to be.
Can you sort of like, for the listeners, can you try to just put into terms how impressive this season from Shohei Ohtani is?
Well, like it's funny because like anytime I tweet about him or like early on, especially like whenever he was doing something, like the best is when he would go 7 innings, strike out 8, give up 4 hits, 1 run, walk 1. And then like it was a game in Houston where they moved him out to right field to like keep his bat in there. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like this is crazy. This doesn't happen. And people are like, what do you mean? I did it in JV baseball. It's not impressive. Like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, think about what you said, dude. Yeah, you did it in fucking JV. Like you're not playing Northeast Tech. Like you're playing the Houston Astros. Like this doesn't happen. And someone even posted a clip last night, like I forget who he struck out, and his jersey was just covered in dirt. And they were like, look at that. A pitcher is striking someone out with 100 miles an hour, and his jersey is covered in dirt because he stole a base the inning before. Like that doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And like you see it every now and then with like in college baseball, where like you had guys like James
McKay. What I was gonna say, what was it, McKay from Louisville?
Brendan McKay.
Yeah, and like even like Teixeira. Like Teixeira was a closer, and then he, and like same thing, Matt Wieters. No, I think I don't know why I said Teixeira. Matt Wieters would be a closer, and he could catch, and it's like okay, that's cool, but he doesn't do it every 5th day. Like he doesn't do it on the regular. And again, it's not like he's doing it where it's like, oh yeah, Ohtani's pitching, but his ERA is like 5, and he's walking a ton of people. And his whip is like 1.5. It's like he's legit. Like he just had his 100th strikeout last night of the season on the pitching mound. So it's like, and then again, he's leading baseball in home runs. He's 35 home runs. Like it's crazy. I and I've been chopped up for this. I said I think he's the most talented player we've ever seen. I think you look at his entire skill set, and I think we've never seen a player that can do it all. And when I said that, some guy said, well, Wilson Contreras can throw 100 miles an hour too. And I said, yeah, he can, but he doesn't do it from the mound. And he's like, well, that's not what you said. And I said, throwing 100 is great. Like, but there's a difference between, and like you guys know, there's a difference between throwing 100 and then being able to step up on a mound and throw 100.
Dot 100. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, again, have a filthy slider and like be able to do all that. Like, I'm like, his skill set, because someone's like, you're saying he's better than Tatis? And I said, his skill set, 100%. He's a better player than Tatis. Like, what is Tatis's ERA? Oh, he doesn't pitch. Thank you. There you go. Like, you're making my argument. Like, that's the thing. He pitches and he hits at unreal levels. Like, we've never seen a player like him.
Is it crazy to say that the Angels have two of the best players currently playing in the world, probably once in 100-year talents, and people would not know who they are if they were walking around the mall in
they're
Missouri.
10 games back.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing is they have two.
Mike Trout is Mickey Mantle 2.0.
Pretty much. And like you even throw in Anthony Rendon, and it's like when he's healthy, they have 3 of the top 10 players in the AL. And again, they're like my buddy Taylor on our podcast.
Like baseball.
Yeah, like you could argue that. He was saying that he thinks Mike Trout is the biggest loser of our generation. Because he's like that, like every now and then, like when the Angels always get back to 500, he's like, oh, 500 without Trout, like don't need him, blah blah blah, like they should trade him and stuff like that. And he's kind of serious too. But yeah, I mean, I think Ohtani. Well, I tweeted the other day, like, is Ohtani the most famous baseball player in the world?
Yeah, he has to be.
I think he has to be.
Like common sense would have to say, like, you think every other country that knows him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Dallas said it on the podcast yesterday where he was like, I guarantee you, if you go over to Japan, you can buy a toaster with a Shohei Ohtani's face on it. Like you can buy hair gel with Shohei Ohtani's face.
It's like when Yao Ming was like dominating in the NBA for those couple of years.
100%.
It's like you got to think about how big the world is, dude. It's not just the US.
He's a global superstar. And like, that's the thing. I mean, like, cause it started with the conversation of that $130,000 signed jersey from him from the All-Star game. It wasn't a game worn jersey. It was just an All-Star game jersey with his signature on it. And it sold for $130,000. Like, and he said, he was like, he's a generational star. Like it's unbelievable. Cause he was like, look how big Tatis is here and in the Dominican and all that. But he's like, he's not getting the love that like Ohtani is. And I think people are now starting to like, I think you could recognize him because number one, he's massive. Like, I think he's a huge dude.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I used to always have that argument, like who's a more famous player, Mike Trout or Tim Tebow, like baseball player when Tebow was with the Mets. Like who could walk in my living room right now and like, could my wife,
your mom now?
Yeah, be like, oh, that's Tim Tebow. I've seen him on Good Morning America when he was circumcising those kids. Or is it going to be like, oh, there's Mike Trout. That's the guy that plays for the Angels. That's at the first Eagles game, the first week in October every year because the Angels are out of it and he's front row. Like, yeah, I think Ohtani right now is more recognizable than Trout.
Well, you got to think like the people that are in the Dominican or in where Venezuela, if they're following baseball, they obviously know who Shohei is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You can't watch the game. Like, you can't watch the game of baseball without seeing a commercial or seeing a highlight or seeing like let's check in LA and see what happened. Oh, this pitcher hit another home run and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, just look at the home run derby. Like the buzz and excitement in that place when he went was like, we haven't seen something like that in a long time. Like long time.
Now, really that scout that was like, he's basically a high school hitter. He hits at a high school level.
I guess that, or it's who was it? Mike Francesa being like, the Yankees are lucky they didn't get that guy.
Yeah.
Like, well, that or it could be Dan Duquette when they asked him, like, did you guys participate in the bidding? And he said, philosophically, we don't. What did he say? Oh man,
we don't believe in two-way players or something along that line.
It's like when the Knicks were the only team that didn't go scout Giannis. That's essentially what happened. Like it was, and I mean, it's just the two organizations that would make the most sense to not scout the biggest player of all time.
Yeah, like it was such an insane quote. I got to find it. It blows me away every time I see it because I'm like, I can't believe.
Also, and I think he's going to win the MVP, but he's the most adorable player in baseball too. Like,
Dude,
even when he disagrees with the umpire, he's just like a little smile. Like he'll saw somebody's bat off and give it to the bat boy for him. It's just adorable. It's a delight. It seems like
the best was the video of him in Oakland where he's like walking back to the clubhouse and he's picking up trash on the way and like just putting it in the trash can. And it's like, yeah, like that's who he is. Like he's that nice of a guy. Here you go. Here's this quote. Orioles GM. This is December 10th, 2017. Orioles GM Dan Duquette confirms the team did not make a presentation to Shohei Ohtani because, quote, philosophically, we don't participate on the posting part of it. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it's just so funny to be like, nah. Like, I didn't ask her out because I knew she'd say no, but I'm still not going to ask her.
Can't get rejected.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he didn't say no to us because I didn't even ask.
So I think my favorite Shohei Ohtani stat is I can't remember the exact number, but it was like through the first 700 at bats or something like that. He has more home runs than Willie Mays. And through his first, I think, 35 games started pitching, he has a lower ERA than Roger Clemens.
Again, it's unbelievable, like the stuff he's doing. It would be different if he was hitting 225 with 11 home runs and, and then on the mound, he had an ERA of like 5 and he was 0-8 or something like that.
And he had like 40 innings pitched.
He'd essentially be like the starter version of Lorenzen, the pitcher from Cincinnati.
Yes, exactly. And it'd be like, Ricochet he's trying to do it, but he's not too good at it, but we're going to let him do it anyways. It's like, no, he's like who I think Dallas was saying. He was like, I think if he stopped hitting, he's like, he would be the best pitcher in baseball. And he was like, it's not like if he focused 100% on pitching, he was like, he would be by far the best pitcher in baseball. Like he would beat DeGrom.
Let's not go that far.
That's good.
I know. But he even said during the home run derby, like he hasn't taken BP at all this season, which is like an insane thing to say. He's like, yeah, I don't need to warm up my swing. Like I'm fine just to go out there. Did Dallas say anything like in person, like the sound coming off of his bat? Because I joked around to Nick about the kids in the outfield, essentially like were people storming the beach on Normandy. There was just no place to hide and bullets flying at him, which obviously not, it's just a joke, but the sound of the ball coming off his bat and he was hitting those top spin line drives. It's unreal.
He was going to kill somebody.
Yeah. He didn't say anything about the noise, but yeah, I just like, well, it was also funny because that was the whole story of the week was like, oh, he doesn't take BP. And then the first minute and a half of his round, he's hitting doubles, down the line. It's like, yeah, no shit. He doesn't take BP. I can see he doesn't take it.
Yeah. I think I tweeted, I was like, yeah, no, in hindsight, I think maybe the fact that he hasn't taken BP all year might go against him in the home run derby.
Probably going to hurt you in the long run. But no, I mean, he didn't, I don't even know if Dallas was like able to comprehend any noises. Like,
because he took a picture with them and he was like, my life is made.
Oh yeah. Like if like Dallas was the guy who in 2017 that like, this is what Dallas was saying he was going to be. He wasn't like, I think Dallas like legitimately was like, this guy is going to be awesome. He's going to be great. And it's been a long, 3-4 years. And Dallas is like, see, I was telling y'all, like, you should have listened because Jared kept comparing it to like, Jared kept saying on the podcast, he calls Ohtani chicken tenders. And he's like, I love chicken tenders. I want every chicken tender I have to be great. And he's like, I just don't want to hear about how great the chicken tenders are before they're ready. I want to eat my chicken tenders and then I'll say they're great. So all this year, Jared's been like, chicken tenders are pretty damn good. And Dallas is like, I've been telling you for years, this place has the best chicken tenders I've ever had. And like, I'm like, you know what? It's a good analogy too. And so I think it works. But yeah, Dallas was on cloud 9 that night watching Ohtani.
So the home run derby, why do you hate Pete Alonso?
So I don't hate Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso hates cancer survivors.
Oh, come on.
If Pete Alonso had any honor, he would have gone out there and bunted.
Pete Alonso had any balls, he would have said, you know what? This night is not about me. It's not about, winning back-to-back. I mean, he also heard that kid out in the outfield. People forget about that.
People are not talking about that.
And he was like bopping his head up and down.
We did talk. Nick and I did talk about that they need to be, those kids need to have like a softball face mask on. And I would like to say a lesser man would have talked about his home run in softball on this podcast. But
many people have said that. But But it was a long time coming for one of those kids getting hurt too. I'll say by the way. 'Cause
Yeah.
every year we're like, this is the year someone's gonna take a ball to the face. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna be a 4-year-old and they're just gonna have their glove up and it's gonna completely.
They're gonna be
miss.
using a Scotty Smalls glove. It's gonna go right through the webbing.
Exactly.
Right. I feel like having young children out there defeats the whole purpose of having nets.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the lines. Yeah, well, take them out of the stands and put them on the field.
Yeah, it's like you did a good thing with the Nets, and then you're like, oh, hey, by the way, we have 8 of the best home run hitters who have probably like 8 of the top 20 exit velocities. We're gonna put you right in the outfield, and they're gonna hit balls so fucking high you're not gonna be able to see them because it's at dusk.
Yeah.
So, or is it dawn? What at dusk?
Yeah,
dawn,
we're dusk, but we're gonna have the lights on too.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
you
gonna be even
can't see
harder
them?
to see.
We're
And
gonna
you're all gonna
we're
be
gonna
very
send them-
unathletic.
We're gonna
Yeah.
send them out there to hit as hard as they possibly can.
Yeah,
And we're gonna juice
we-
the balls too. We're gonna
Exactly.
be hitting marbles essentially.
Yeah, it was, and again, that didn't count because then he got extra time to rest, which wasn't very fair to Trey. But no, and it's funny too because one of his, I don't think it's his agent, but I think it's like one of Pete Alonso's advisors is also, he's Ryan Mountcastle's agent, so I know him through that. And so the whole night I'm tweeting up a storm like, all my friends hate Pete Alonso, fuck Pete Alonso, and all I get a DM from him because I've talked to him a bunch before, and he's like, what's up, man? And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I forgot your guy was Alonso. And I'm like, he's like, I get it. You got to you got to, stir the pot with the Barstool thing. He's like, I won't take anything personally. And I was like, I'll delete a bunch of these right now. Like, I will take a lot of these down. I was like, oh my God, what an idiot. Like, I was tweeting everything about Pete Alonso, but.
Well, I mean, you got to stand up for your guy, Trey.
Yeah, and I even said in the blog that day or earlier that week, I said, like, I picked Trey over Alonso. That's just what I thought it was going to be, and turned out to be the opposite. But I mean, it was like Alonso would have hit 50 home runs if they didn't make him stop after he hit his 23rd in the final round. Like he would have kept going and kept hitting home runs. Like his swing is just built for.
And he's just like, I mean, even to see Trey, like obviously it was amazing because he had cancer, but if you just look at the body type of Trey to Pete, it's completely different.
Pete's built like Travis Hafner.
Yeah, but Trey's jersey looked baggy on him compared to Pete Alonso's. And it's like for him to even be toe to toe with a guy that's substantially bigger is amazing, let alone the fact that he was battling cancer a year ago.
That was the big thing to me with like after Ohtani's first round, or he may have even been when he took the timeout and he like threw his bat down and he put his hands on his knees and was like, he was huffing and puffing. And I'm like, man, like Trey's body, again, a year ago, Trey was hooked up to chemo machines, pumping, God knows what into his body. And he's still, you can see it in his face and his neck. He hasn't gained all that weight back. Like he was solid. He's still a big guy and he's solid.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's gained all the weight back. And it may have just been because he lost weight and he's cut down a little bit. But I'm like, man, his body going through this right now, like up in that altitude, that can't be easy. And again, I'm like, there's Ohtani and he looks like he can barely breathe. And I'm like, I can't imagine what Trey's been doing. And again, I was like, we're going on hour 3 of this thing now. So he's mentally exhausted, like physically exhausted. Like, yeah, it was impressive. And I thought that was the most impressive part was, again, him basically going toe to toe with a physical freak like Pete Alonso. And again, I mean, Trey, it's not like Trey was hitting like wall scrapers. He was hitting monsters.
He was hitting some bombs. I mean, he also, people don't talk about this, Trey Mancini, he was a college home run derby guy too.
Yep. There's the pitcher in the home run derby was the same guy that pitched to him at Notre Dame. And he said, like, if I ever make the MLB home run derby, like you'll pitch to me. So that there was like a cool story there. And it was like a whole backstory with another teammate who at Notre Dame who had died from cancer last year. And he had coached both of them. So it was a pretty neat story. It was definitely cool to see.
Now, if Pete Alonso's cousin was throwing to him like the year before or 2 years ago, I think Trey would have probably won. I mean, they know they talked about it on Part of My Take, but the most perfect BP throwing of all time. And Nick and I talked about this. I'd like to get your opinion on it. If you hit somebody during the home run derby, how shot would you be? Like, I would never be able to throw another strike again.
Well, it's like that, or what Kevin Long for Juan Soto threw behind him.
Yeah.
Like,
former Mets pitching coach.
Yeah. And it's like,
or BP coach.
And if you watch Joust when he was throwing, like, I don't even think he even like knew that he hit Alonso until like later on, because like he wouldn't turn around and watch the balls because he was just laser focused, like just throwing them in there. So again, like that's what you got to do. And I don't know. I think he's just that much of a pro where
He said that was the first time he'd ever hit somebody in batting practice, which
is
I think
insane.
that can't be true.
I was thinking that too. I was like, there's no way.
Just from like the amount of batting practice that you take in college, like I was getting the least amount of batting practice thrown to me in college because they knew I was never going to hit, but I got hit like once or twice a year. Like it just inevitably happened.
Yeah, like I'm sure it just happens. And lost one. Boom, got you. Like again, got you on the elbow, got you on the shoulder, something like that.
I think I would probably have a better chance of hitting a home run in the home run derby than to be able to throw strikes in the home run derby.
Yeah, I don't. That would be hard. And because again, like you heard him on Part of My Take when he said he threw to everyone in the Boston home run derby in '99. Said he threw like 700 pitches that night or something like that. Like my arm would fall off. That's insane.
Yeah, I think the mental fortitude it takes to throw BP in a home run derby is crazy.
Yeah, because again, it's just funny to me because you're always like, obviously like you would assume these guys have pitched at one point, and it's like the entire reason you're on the mound is to not give up a home run, and now you're like, here, just fucking tee off on it, hit it out.
Exactly. But dude, I don't know. I think this year is going to be a great year down the stretch, and it's going to be nice to have the fans back 100% in the stadiums. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a little bit of a crazy stretch. I think the next 48 hours is going to be very, very, very entertaining, though.
Yeah. Again, I mean, we're going to see some big names moving, and I know a lot of the Nats fans around us are kind of shell shocked that they're going to do this rebuild and that they're going to lose some of their key guys, and it sucks. I mean, obviously my team's in year 4 or 5 of a rebuild, and it sucks. But
4 or 5.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4, whatever year we're into this. It's not fun, but it sucks right now getting on Facebook and being like, on this day 3 years ago, Manny Machado was traded, or like Zach Britton was traded, and it's like, oh man, like those nights were the worst. And now it's just like, yeah, it's happening to a lot of other teams. Same thing with the Cubs. Like the ring makes it better for the Nats and the Cubs, but it's the end is near for a lot of these teams, and we're going to see some faces in uniforms that we're not used to seeing them in.
100%. Well, Eric, I got nothing left. Nick, you got anything?
No, dude, you have tapped me out.
Perfect. Where can the people find you online?
At EDITTI22 on Twitter, at Eric RDT on Instagram, and barstoolsports.com, and anywhere else you can consume media.
What about the podcasts?
Podcast is at Exit 52 Podcast, where I'm sure we'll start diving more into Ravens, which as a Titans fan, it's like not too up my alley, but
hey, you guys got Julio though. So.
What were we saying?
I said, yeah, but you guys got Julio, so
I'm so excited for that. It's going to be so much fun.
And apparently, out of nowhere, Tannehill is the top 10 NFL quarterback. I don't know.
I think Tannehill he's a damn good quarterback. Like I will take him any day.
Statistically, he's like a top 3 quarterback since he started.
Since he started for the Titans, it's like him and Mahomes for like passing touchdowns and yards and everything like that. Yeah. He's a freak.
But anyway, thanks, man. We're going to have you back on here. Like I said, we'll have you come back on and redeem everything you said when all the trades go the exact opposite way we thought.
Pretty much.
But, take all your victory laps.
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess. But always a pleasure, boys.
Thanks, for sure, man. Take it easy.